me by my true names. Please call me by my true names, so I can wake up, so the door of my heart can be left open, the door of compassion, the door of compassion. Please call me by my true names. Please call me by my true names, so I can wake up, so the door of my heart can be left open, the door of compassion, the door of compassion. So these were lines from Thich Nhat Hanh's amazing poem called Please Call Me by My True Names. Please call me by my true names so I can wake up, so the door of my heart can be left open, the door of compassion. Let's try singing that together. It's so simple. Please call me by my true names. Please call me by my true names, so I can wake up, so the door of my heart can be left open, the door of compassion, the door of compassion. Now that we know, let's sing it one more time. I'd love to hear your voices. Please call me by my true names. Please call me by my true names, so I can wake up, so the door of my heart can be left open, the door of compassion, the door of compassion. And this is a poem Thich Nhat Hanh wrote when he was addressing 300 psychotherapists. And he quoted Fritz Perls, who said, "You are you and I am me. If we meet, that's wonderful. If not, tough luck. It can't be helped. You go your way and I'll go my way." So that was sort of the basis of Western psychology. And Thich Nhat Hanh got up in front of hundreds of people and he said, "Friends, I wrote a poem last night and it's called The Antidote. And it's a poem for Mr. Pearl. So this is the Buddhist version. Instead of you are you and I am me, he said, you are me and I am you. It is obvious that we inter-are. You cultivate the flower in yourself so that I will be beautiful. I cultivate the garbage in myself so that you do not have to suffer. I support you. You support me. I am here to bring you peace. You are here to bring me joy because I am you and you are me. It is obvious that we inter-are. So he basically was saying we need to remove the verb to be. It's a separatist verb. Once we say I am, we're automatically saying you are and I am. But if we say I inter-am, we inter-are, we're talking about an interconnection. You are me and I am you. It is obvious You cultivate the flower in yourself so that I will be beautiful. I transform the garbage in myself so that you do not have to suffer. I support you. You support me. I am here to bring you peace. You are here to bring me joy. And he went on to say that the most powerful thing we can do politically or spiritually is to transform the garbage in ourselves so that we're not leaking our own pain and suffering into other people's lives. And what he meant by garbage were all the untended wounds that we tend to focus on. And when he says, you cultivate the flower in yourself so that I will be beautiful, he's the flower he's talking about is that which emerges from the garbage after it's been composted. So it's actually one and the same. It's quite beautiful that the garbage effortlessly becomes the flower. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome, one and all, to New Thought Center of Hawaii on this beautiful Sunday morning in August. We are delighted you're here, whether you're physically present or whether you're virtually present. And that could be today or in the future, because we are pleased that you can go back at your convenience and see our previous programs by going to our website, newthoughtcenterofhawaii.com. We're going to begin the program with a reading from Science of Mind, and Erin is going to do that for us.
Thank you. Good morning. I just wanted to point out that if you're hard of hearing, you might not be able to hear. So I'm going to talk loud because my friend Patty was saying, I can't hear. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Aloha. I really liked Rashani's I am you, you are me. Okay, today, welcome to New Thought. The reading is called Ordinary Miracles. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. So maybe you could turn it up. The first quote is by Galileo. The sun, with all those planets revolving around it and depending on it, can still ripen a bunch of grapes as it had nothing else in the universe to do. Our religious tracts are full of recorded miracles, raising the dead, turning water into the wine, converting golden rings into butterflies. all pale in comparison to life. Take 5 seconds and look around right now. If you can't see 5 miracles, I'd be surprised. Our 5 senses are miracles. Look outside. Birth, breath, flowers, and frogs are all miracles of existence. Your breath is a miracle. A tree in the forest deriving sustenance from the earth and the sky is a miracle. Words on paper, another miracle. We live and have our being in the midst of the most remarkable act that can ever be conceived. We live on a little living rock orbiting a burning furnace in an infinite collection of cosmic materials. We are awed by the healing of the sick and the transmutation of form. We are so easily dazzled as we should be, or as we could be. So the affirmation is simple today. It's, I am a miracle and so are you. Would you like to repeat that with me? I am a miracle and so are you.
Thank you very much, Erin. And our next item is going to be a silent meditation. I will ring a chime when we begin, and I will ring a chime when we end. And may we have a song, Rashani?
I'd love to share a gatha. Thich Nhat Hanh often wrote gathas to just bring us back to our breathing. Can you hear me? Okay. So the gathas were used during sitting meditation and during walking meditation. And one of the first ones he shared goes like this. So when he's saying breathing in, so it's on the inhale. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. I am blooming as a flower. I am fresh as the dew. I am solid as a mountain. I am firm I am free.
Thank you. This is the way we say applause silently. So if there is something that you want to applaud, this is the way you do it. Again, good morning and welcome to New Thought. We are a spiritual community established in 1971. And originally, I wasn't here then, but originally, if I understand things correctly, it was a more commonplace spiritual group with a minister. But as the years went by, one of the ministers retired or left, and the group decided that they would not have a fixed person be their minister, but we would minister to one another. And that has been the case for many years. And it means that there's a variety of program. If you look behind in the center part or on either side of the clock, you will see little flags that represent a variety of different spiritual traditions. New Thought is spiritual, but it's not doctrinaire. We accept anybody's path to spirituality and welcome anyone who has their foot on a spiritual path. I am sure there's a few people who are brand new to New Thought today. I brought one of them. So if you are new, I would like, if you would, not being shy, to just raise your hand and loudly say your name. Go ahead.
Brianna.
Anybody else here for the first time? Can you just say your name loudly? Bree. Welcome.
Anna,
Welcome.
can you repeat them since the live stream people can't hear?
People can't hear?
Well, live stream people can't hear unless it comes into a microphone. So you can say welcome, Bree.
Okay, welcome Brianna, welcome Bree, and welcome Charles.
And Meg.
All right. We're going to have another song now.
First, I have to say you welcome everybody on a spiritual path and also those who are on a pathless journey. So I represent the pathless journey. Actually, I won't use a guitar. I'll just offer a song. May the song of the bird, may the song of the bird, may the song of the bird awaken us. To let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Let's all try that together. That's the chorus. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. May the song of our voice, may the song of our voice, may the song of our voice awaken us. To let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Thank you.
Okay, we have a tradition at New Thought of giving people the opportunity to share what we call miracles and ordinaries. And Erin chose a reading today that used both of those words, but let me tell you how we define them. A miracle could be anything that is totally unexpected and fabulously wonderful. And an ordinary could be the same. It could be totally unexpected and fabulously wonderful. And it's hard to draw the line between a miracle and an ordinary. If something has happened to you recently that you would like to share that would fall into that category, now is your time. We'll adjust the microphone to your height and we welcome you to share.
I'll go first. So this morning I was getting all ready to come in and do the sound, and I could not find my key anywhere. Like it wasn't where it should be. You know, it's like there's a place for the key and it wasn't there. So I went into panic mode because I'm running a little bit late, and that tends to be the case when we're, you know. So I tore the whole house apart looking for the key, right? And now I'm later, and I was just like, okay, I have to come. I have to do this. So I drove. I sent a message that like I don't have the key. If you could all. And as I'm driving, I'm checking, double checking, triple checking the place, and the key had somehow like slid into a crack in the place it belonged, but clearly it was not possible to see that unless I was really digging into that place to look. And just after that, as I was driving in, a hawk, an eel, you know, circled. And eel is, I go by Light Hawk. It's one of my teachers. And hawks are really about like clear sight. And what I received in that moment is that when we face a challenge, a situation that's not going the way we think it should go or whatever, our tendency is to go into survival, right? To drop down into the earth and like, right? And instead, if we'll just stop, take a couple deep breaths, and reconnect to guidance, to source, then it becomes more clear like, oh yeah, double check, triple, it's there. Yeah. So I just wanted to share that. It's kind of an ordinary, but in my life was a little reminder miracle.
You have something to share. Yeah. All right. Give us your name and give us your miracle.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan. I love the concept of miracles. I always thought that a miracle was a switch from fear to love. I read that somewhere. And last year, a miracle happened for me. I might cry if I say it, but it's a happy miracle. I decided to forgive my dad for a lot of pain that he caused when I was a kid. And now we have this really great relationship. And I moved to Hawaii, and yeah, I don't know. If I didn't forgive him, I don't think that he would have changed or that our dynamic would have changed. And yeah, he's just a different person now, and he's filled with so much light and love. So yeah, I just hope that everybody can experience so much light and love. I think that forgiveness is kind of the way that our world is heading. So thank you.
Okay, so last week, I mentioned to you that I was taking on a new job, and so I thought I'd tell you the wonderful struggle and the amazing, unexpected departure from that, so we no longer have to think about it, and I'd get closure. So I was taking on something that I was really excited about. I wanted to work with this elder woman. And I worked 8 years and ran a geriatric uh, day and evening program. And I was so excited to use those skills again. And so I, did my menu planning, and I got together the rummy cue. I learned how to play rummy cue with this wonderful 92-year-old. And I just put so much love into the experience. Maybe the job was only 7 hours, but I was really eager, and, it was easy for me to do 10 hours, especially since she had so many eye drops and what have you. But it was hot. It was really, really hot there. I woke up one day and it was like 85 degrees, and I knew it had been 94. And I was feeling really blue and thinking, okay, I'm just going to, trot on. I'm going to do this because I love her. And it turns out it wasn't a good match down in Kona Paradise at the bottom and whatnot. And so I felt like last time I told you, I really wanted to learn how to love myself while I'm learning to love others at the same time, which I've been practicing for 10 years. Well, the solution came when we both agreed this is not a great match. And so I had so many errands to do for the woman that needed me to do them that I got a migraine. And the migraine came on, and I haven't had one in quite a long time. And that was the indication that this is not going to work out. And so I got through the migraine in 24 hours and basically decided this isn't going to work out. And she called and said, I think I'd rather have somebody that can, that I don't have to pay, that can live in the house and have the car. And it all just faded away. And so that is the miracle. And a teacher once told me, feel it now while it's happening. Like, don't repress it anymore. Like, that was my pattern for many years, is to repress a lot of my grief and a lot of my struggle. And I'm finding the solution in publicly telling you and feeling it deeply while it's happening. And now I can let it go completely. I announced it and I felt it, and it's gone because it was in there and now it's out. So, namaste. Thank you.
Is there another miracle? Ordinary?
I'm glad that Aaron's talk was long because I don't know what I'm going to say. But I'm watching this series that was produced by Oprah Winfrey, and she's in it, called Greenleaf. And it's about, oh my God, I am so involved. I love these people. But it's in a gospel church, and it's all of that stuff that I've, not sure I like, and a lot of drama and trauma, and oh my God, how can it get worse? But it seems to get better and whatnot. But the main thing is I'm hearing so much about God and this gorgeous music and these people that I'm falling in love with, God and Jesus. And that's opening up in my heart. And that's the miracle.
I'm now going to introduce Rashani Rea. She's been a speaker here before, so for some of you, she will not be a new person. But for those of you who don't know her, she was ordained by Thich Nhat Hanh, which probably most of you have heard of, into the Order of Interbeing in 1990. She spent time at Plum Village every summer for several years and had the great honor of opening his retreats and public Dharma talks in France and throughout the US from 1989 until 1996. She co-authored the book with Thich Nhat Hanh that is over here for purchase after our program and session is over, entitled Go Slowly, Breathe, and Smile. This was published earlier this year, very close to the time that Thich Nhat Hanh passed. Rashani will be sharing about her time with him and how his teachings have influenced her life. She will also read a few excerpts from this book. 7 of the 15 albums of song and poetry which Rashani has recorded were inspired by his teachings. In the role of music minister, she will share some of his soetry, songs with poetry, with our community. Well, she already has. Rashani lives in Ka'u at the eco sanctuary called Kipuka Maluhia, which she has created and maintained for nearly 2 decades. Her life story is mythic, peopled with great spiritual teachers, pioneers of psychology, artists, poets, and social reformers. I look forward to hearing from Rashani, and I'm sure that you will too. Oh, before we begin with Rashani, we have Patty bringing Rashani a
Aw.
greeting in the form of a
Thank
lay.
you.
Patty has been our lay minister for many years, and we appreciate
Mm.
that.
Mm. Well, on the theme of miracles, I'd like to share what Thich Nhat Hanh said. People usually consider walking on water or in thin air to be a miracle. But every day, we're engaged in miracles we don't even notice. The blue sky, the white clouds, the eyes of a child. And this was one of the earliest collages I actually did in the late 1980s. And it says, the real miracle is not to walk either on water or in thin air, but to walk on earth. And that quote in itself just embodies who Thich Nhat Hanh was. His teachings were not about transcending our humanness or lifting from the earth plane, but more embodying our Buddha nature, our Christ consciousness, our Purusha, whatever we call this awakened aspect of our being. And that was one thing that struck me. He was so in love with words. And he would, during his Dharma talks, he would say, well, in Pali, we say this, and in Sanskrit, it's this, and in Vietnamese, it's this. And by the time it's translated into English, it becomes this, which is very unfamiliar. But he talked about the word Bud, the root word of Buddha. And Bud simply means to be awake. So when we're talking about Buddha nature, it's very easy to conceptualize Gautama Buddha, the man, Buddha. But really, our Buddha nature has nothing to do. Gautama Buddha was simply one man who awakened. And we each are born in that awakened state. And we are here to remember our Buddha nature. So as I remember the many years I had the great honor of spending time with Tai. Tai was his nickname. Tai means teacher. He was not a flamboyant, charismatic human being. He was the opposite. He was a very soft-spoken, quiet poet, gardener of utmost humbleness. And that's what drew me to him. I ended up in France. My family left the United States in 1970 in protest of the war in Vietnam. My brother was chosen as number 2 in the draft lottery, and there was no way that he would have gone to Vietnam. So he decided to leave the United States, and we first moved to England, and then we moved to France. And for years, I kept hearing about this place down the road called Plum Village. And I was I was at that time renovating a beautiful stone farmhouse in the south of France. And it took quite a while before I actually felt called to go to Plum Village, which turned out to be less than an hour and a half away by motorbike. And I was at a retreat at Tassajara one day, And as we were driving to the retreat center, there was a man in the back of the truck who said, "Oh, I've just come back from Plum Village. And it's such a beautiful retreat center." And he said, the thing I loved most is that not only was there walking meditation and sitting meditation, but every day there was singing meditation. So immediately I thought, oh, I need to go. As a song gatherer, I gathered songs for over 25 years and I sing in many languages. And my favorite retreat centers were those that really delved into music and song. So the following summer, I went back home and I got on my motorbike one day and I got out a map and I tied a small frame drum onto the back of my motorbike and I drove off through these beautiful sunflower fields and walnut orchards and tobacco fields and rivers and medieval villages. And I knew that I had arrived at Plum Village because there was a beautiful hand-lettered sign in 3 languages, English, French, and Vietnamese. And it said, "Go slowly, breathe, and smile." So when my publisher and agent and I were thinking of a name for the book, this is the name that came. It's just such an essential part of Thich Nhat Hanh's life and the whole life that occurred at Plum Village. And for those of you who don't know, Plum Village is a retreat center that he began many, many years ago. And when I first went, it was very, very small, just a small handful of us. We would, in the wintertime, gather around the wood stoves together and be in the gardens every day. And then as time went on, more and more people came. And then they started doing family retreats in the summer. And the retreats got bigger and bigger, and he became more and more well known. And Arnie Kotler started the Parallax Press and started printing the books of Thich Nhat Hanh's. I think he probably published more than 30 or 40 books, mostly from his Dharma talks. He would edit them and put them into book form. And it was in the late 80s. My first visit was so touching. Firstly, the moment I arrived, I parked my motorbike and I was so happy to be there. And I was surrounded by young children, mostly Vietnamese children. And they were fascinated with the drum. And I thought, oh. And within less than an hour, I was invited to come and give a concert. They were having a picnic, which they often did. It was in an oak grove. And I was invited to come and share songs. So I brought my drum. And as I looked into the eyes of these people, there were just tears in their eyes. It was so beautiful. And I felt like, oh, I'm home. And for so many years, I'd wanted to be like Joan Baez or Joni Mitchell or, some great singer. And yet I realized my particular form of sharing song is in devotional music. It's very different than, I love Joan Baez. I met her when I was 12 and still love her. But my particular way was not to be on a big stage with a band, but to be in an ocean of people where my songs could touch and transform them. And I realized the power of song. So my music company was called Medicine Song Productions, because I realized a song can literally shift the cells in our body. So after the concert, I was shown where to stay, and then I stayed for a few days the first time. And every time I sat with Thai, listening to his Dharma talks, it was as if these transmissions were occurring. And he often said to us, please don't take notes. It's like trying to catch rainwater in a bucket. You know, we're conceptually wanting to grasp the Dharma. And he said, no, let yourself be drenched by the Dharma, because it's not a conceptual understanding. It's something that enters us and awakens the Buddha nature within us. And it doesn't go through the conceptual part of our brain. And I remember, even though he said don't take notes, I often had a pen and paper snuck in my sock, because so many of his one-line sayings were just heavenly. And this book is filled with them because of those notes that I took. And then I asked his permission. I went several times that first spring and summer. And I said, I'm so inspired. May I do a series of collages incorporating your words? And he said, oh, yes. He said, that would be so wonderful. And that was a great honor to be given permission. And I was also so inspired that usually after every Dharma talk, a song would come through me based on his teaching. So by the end of that first summer, I had quite a collection of songs, and I went back to California, where I was living at the time when I wasn't in France. And I spent hours and hours and hours in a sound studio, piecing together my first album of his poetry and songs. And it's called Take Refuge in the Moment. And I sent it to my friend Joanna Macy, thinking that she would write a beautiful endorsement in my behalf. And instead, she phoned me the next day and she said, it's a beautiful album, Rashani, but you're not angry enough. And I literally fell to the floor and began sobbing. And I thought, Thich Nhat Hanh isn't about anger at all. And then I went to visit my friends Dorothy and Jim Fadiman, and I burst into tears. And Jim found me on the couch sobbing. He said, what happened? And I told him, and he said, Joanna Macy is one of many, many people. He said, you've just spent hundreds of hours in a recording studio pouring your heart into this album. Send it to Thich Nhat Hanh as it is. And I was so nervous. I thought, oh, well, if Joanna Macy doesn't like it, he won't like it. So I had all my ridiculous fears coming up. However, I wrapped it up and I sent it off to Sister Cheng Kong and Thich Nhat Hanh, terrified of what they would say, just fearing their response. This was way before emails. 2 or 3 weeks later, I got a letter from Plum Village from Sister Cheng Kong. Dear Rashani, Tai and I have listened to your album several times, and he wants you to know this is the most beautiful rendition of his poetry that he's ever heard. P.S. Would you be our guest at his next tour of the United States? We would like you to sing and open his Dharma talks at the retreats and also his public lectures, which he'll be giving throughout. And I sat and wept. And yes, I accepted the offer, and that was quite an honor. And I was taken also to Kim San Monastery. I was the only non-Vietnamese person there. And it was so beautiful because they knew my songs. My songs were put into the songbooks at Plum Village. So my songs became kind of a legend amongst that community. And then I remember the day when I took my collages. I was a single mother at the time. I had no money to spare. And I was just designing collages, And my little apartment was filled with these collages. And I was putting my son through a school, a wonderful alternative school in California. And one day, my friend Dorothy Fadiman came to visit, and I opened the door, and she looked at these collages and said, "I'm just standing in a sea of beauty." And she read every one. The first ones I did were quotes of Thich Nhat Hanh, Rumi, Hildegard von Bingen, and 5 poems of my own. And these were not intentionally meant for selling. These were part of my own healing process. By that time, I had lost 4 or 5 family members. So my way of grieving was to create beauty. So grief for me became a fuel into beauty. And Dorothy said, "You have to print these. You have to let the world see what you're doing." And I said, "Well, Dorothy, I don't even own a credit card. I don't know how to print cards." So anyway, she loaned me money, and I printed. The first batch was 22 cards. They were 5 by 8 postcards, printed with soy-based inks on recycled paper. And then the following summer, when I went back to France, I took them to Plum Village. And I was invited into Ty's little hermitage. He had a beautiful little cabin. And I laid the collages out on his table. And I can still remember his face. His face just lit up. And he said, "Rashani, these are the colors of Vietnam. How did you know?" And I said, I didn't know, Ty. And he loved them. He really loved them. And I've since designed more. Just over the years, I've designed many, many more of his quotes. But before I go on, I'd love to know, are there any questions that any of you might have?
Thank you so much for talking about Ty. When did he make his samadhi? When did he pass?
Just about a month after this was published. This year.
Could you rephrase the question?
Oh, she asked, when did Ty leave the earth plane? It was this last winter. And did any of you happen to see the memorial service? It was all televised. It was remarkable. It was just phenomenal that the world got to see his service in Vietnam. It was just quite something. He was so loved.
And then, if it's okay, can you say, because there was 2 plum villages, right? One in Montreal and one in New York. Was the one you were at
In France. I was,
in France?
yes.
Montreal.
No, I didn't know there was another plum village in Montreal.
Oh no, just in France.
Just in France. But there are,
Yeah.
but he has other villages throughout. There's one in California, Deer Park Monastery. There's another on the East Coast, and then in Vietnam. Yeah, so many are springing up. And in a way, my sanctuary in Kau is, I call it a Dharma Gaia center, because I'm really a great lover of the living Dharma, which he talked about, not just the Buddha Dharma, but the living Dharma, which is in like the way that everything is celebrated here. There's a Christian Dharma, a Buddha Dharma. There's a Dharma in every tradition. And those of you who are familiar with my cards, you'll know that I'm representing hundreds, if not thousands, of teachings and teachers, because I've gone for the living Dharma, that jewel of truth that's embodied in every teaching, whether it's Sufi or Islamic or even an atheist Dharma. I mean, one can be an atheist and be awake. It's not about religion. It's not about belief. It's about that moment of recognition. Yes.
How did Thich Nhat Hanh find his path? or pathless path?
You know, I don't know the answer to that. I know that he was ordained. Oh, how did Thich Nhat Hanh find his path or his pathless path? I know that from a very young age he was a monk. I think from 17 on. So it called to him, obviously. It could have been from his volunteer work. Yeah. And the beauty, when he was a young monk and the war was happening, he couldn't just sit on his zafu in the monastery. He said, I have to engage these teachings. So he coined the term engaged Buddhism, which is so powerful. So he would go into the fields and pick up the injured children and bring them back. He said, unless we engage these teachings, what good are they? And so he also coined the term engaged art, which I had already been aware of through Sister Corita Kent. Do any of you remember her? This wild, revolutionary Catholic nun who was so remarkable. She used her artwork to awaken people. And I became introduced to her when I was 13 or so. And I thought, oh, yes, I want my artwork to be a means to awaken the consciousness. So socially engaged art was very meaningful to me. So I want to read just a little bit. Any more questions? Yes.
Well, I did see a documentary film down in Hawaiian Queen Coffee about him. That's how I first heard about him. And I remember he got exiled out of Vietnam because of his peace work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was exiled. The communists in Vietnam thought he was a non-communist, and the non-communists assumed he was a communist. So he was hated by both sides. And he and Sister Chang Kong spent a lot of time helping people escape. So they would go at nighttime and smuggle people onto the boats. And these were the boat people who had no idea where they would land. And many were thrown overboard. Many were raped by pirates. Many didn't make it to any other shore. But he was so consistently devoted to his people. And even at the large Dharma talks where I sang in Berkeley and other cities, there were maybe 3,000 people attending those. And on one table would be his books, on another table would be my cards and my cassettes. And then on another table would be letters to the political leaders in Vietnam. I mean, it was so beautiful. Sister Chang Kong was determined to have hundreds of signatures so that the people in Vietnam would know that the world knew the horrors of what was happening. So they both were just so devoted to their people. So I added a postscript at the end. This book took months and months and months to piece together. And then I thought, oh, I just want to add a postscript. Dear reader holding this book, I feel deeply blessed to have spent such precious time with Thich Nhat Hanh. The impact he had on my life is incalculable and continues to bloom in unexpected ways. Being in his presence and sharing a contemplative practice with a multicultural, multi-generational Sangha opened me to an equanimity previously not known. For many years, I thought it was Thay's words and teachings that echoed throughout my being from the first day I met him in the late 1980s. He poetically pointed to the nature of reality, which is impossible to conceptualize. The simplicity of his pointing was a soothing gift. It prevented me from getting caught in complicated mental concepts and spiritual pitfalls and fantasies, and allowed me to have my own direct experience of the unfolding eternal now, which he called the miracle of the moment. I won't share a lot more. I'll let you get a copy of the book. And it has a beautiful introduction by Joan Halifax. It's in 3 parts. So breathe, go slowly. Go slowly is the first part, breathe and smile. So Joan Halifax wrote one introduction. Nell Houtman wrote another introduction. And Sister Cheng Kong wrote another introduction. So it was a great honor to have their energy in this book. How much time do I have? About time to stop. So okay. You can conclude and then okay. How shall I conclude?
You have 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes. Yeah, you have 10 minutes.
Oh, I have 10 minutes. Oh, no conclusion. Oh no. Well, no, I haven't practiced that. I wrote a song. I had the great honor of being at a retreat for Vietnam veterans. This was held at the Omega Institute. And there were over 100 veterans who had been in Vietnam, killing Vietnamese people. One of them was so traumatized, he put his tent up in the garden at Omega and surrounded it with barbed wire. And every time a plane went overhead, he would get on the ground, and he couldn't even be near people with Vietnamese accents. I mean, that's how traumatized he was. And at this particular retreat, it was the first time that Thai introduced hugging meditation. And are any of you familiar with hugging meditation? It's so beautiful. You know, often people just hug quickly, but he said when we hug another person, we want to be aware of their impermanence. So as you're hugging a friend, you're breathing in. Firstly, breathing in, I'm aware that I'm breathing in while you're hugging. Breathing out, I'm aware that I'm breathing out. Breathing in, I'm aware of the impermanence of this person who's in my arms. Breathing out, I am aware of my own impermanence. So it radically shifts the art of hugging. And Thai shared later that year that a woman showed up at Plum Village and she said, I came to your retreat because when my husband returned from your last retreat, he hugged me for the first time. And we've been married for 30 years or whatever. But she said, I felt hugged for the first time and I needed to understand hugging meditation. So at that retreat, because Carrie reminded me of this song, Thai told an amazing story. And the soldiers were taught that if they saw anybody coming at them, including children, they were to just take them out. So a young American soldier saw children running towards him, and out of fear, he just killed them. He thought they were carrying bombs. And when he went to look at their little corpses, they were carrying flowers. And I was so struck. I wrote a poem, and I don't remember it at the moment on my guitar, but I might remember the poem. He heard the children crying and could not find his heart. It had long been torn apart by the war. He heard bombs in the distance falling from the sky, and fear pulsed through his body like poison. Vengeance ruptured his mind, and terror pulled the trigger. In a moment of mindlessness, 5 young children died. For nearly 20 years, this man was caged in anguish, unable to be truly free. Haunting memories followed him like a wake of a ship. Today, 2 decades later, he sits sipping tea with a Vietnamese monk in California, being reminded of the moment, the miracle of the moment, finding his true self despite the horrors of his past. Endowed with a vow, he became a bodhisattva of compassion and love. That is the extraordinary power that Thich Nhat Hanh had. And Megan, you talked about the beauty of forgiveness. And is that your name, Megan? Yes. I got to see this forgiveness happening during that retreat. Ty asked before the soldiers came to bring photos of their time in Vietnam. So there was a huge bulletin board with photographs of these men in the killing fields. And there was so much forgiveness happening. And nuns and monks were hugging soldiers that had killed their people. It was just extraordinary. And I'll just share one last thing. About 15 years ago, a group came, many groups come to my home, and I hold council. And this was several years ago, a dolphin group came to Earth Song, my previous home. And I did a one-day council. And as we walked back to where the cars were parked, a woman walked up to me and she said, do you offer private sessions? And I said, oh, yes. She said, well, I'd love for my partner to come and see you. He was a soldier in Vietnam and he killed more than 100 people. And for the last 20 years, he's been completely addicted to drugs. And I've never heard him laugh or cry in 20 years. May we come tomorrow? And I said, yes, please. So they came. And when he walked in to the temple, he walked in identified as a murderer. And when he walked out 3 hours later, he walked out as a bodhisattva. I sat with him for 3 hours and I opened the session with that song. I sang him the song about the Vietnam veteran, and he began to weep. And it was the first time tears had fallen. And when he went back to Oregon, and when we walked back, we were saying goodbye, and his partner said, how much can I pay you for this? And I said, oh, nothing. I said, this is my gift. I said, I'm so honored to offer this to your partner. It's a great honor for me to see such transformation. Please, it's my gift. But she stuffed some money in my pocket. She said, oh, no. So I pulled out this money and I went and bought a beautiful statue of the Buddha, and I called it Buddha Bob. Bob was the name of this veteran. And I put Buddha Bob in the garden and I took a photograph and I sent it to him. And Buddha Bob started a massage oil company. It was called Buddha Bob's Oil. And it had a picture of the Buddha. So I guess to conclude, I'll just say that Thich Nhat Hanh was a living Buddha, a living Christ. And to be in his presence was such a blessing and such an honor. And the fact is that he's living on in all of us. So his death was not the ending of anything. It really was for us to realize that he is well and alive in each of us anytime we offer a mindful action. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rashani. It was worth the extra wait, and I'm sure we all will enjoy thinking about what you've said and shared with us. And this is very special. We're going to pass the Koa Bowl now. And this is the first time that we have done this in a very long time, perhaps since the beginning of COVID, right? Yeah, I think so. So we appreciate any support you can offer. You can also contribute online through PayPal if you go to our website. So I'll have Rashani give us how about some just instrumental music while we
Okay.
pass the
Okay.
Koa Bowl?
Can I say one last thing? Many years ago, Tai said, the Buddha will not return to earth in the form of an individual. The Buddha is here among us in the form of community. This is the Buddha.
Rashani, this is the first time we've offered to take our speaker out to lunch. I mentioned it to you, but did you have an idea that that's something you would like to do?
Sure. Is the market still open?
The market is open,
That would be
absolutely.
great. Yeah.
And I'll be glad to be your host. And can we have a show of hands of people who might like to join us there at the market? Okay. All right, great.
Where will you assemble, like, after people get their food?
Don't they have tables up above? Yeah.
Kind of on the stairs
Yeah.
by the restroom.
Yeah.
Follow the music.
Follow the music.
Okie doke. Do you have any announcements other than the fact that you'll be over there to?
Yes, I did bring some copies of the book, and I brought some of the early cards that I had created. Unfortunately, I couldn't find envelopes, so they'll be sold at a great discount. And every card or book that you buy goes to support an amazing Dharmagaya sanctuary in Kau.
Okay.
Thank you all so much.
After we're all done, by all means, go
Yep.
over. You'll be over there to sign the books as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. We have some things coming up we'd like to share with you. Our normal Sunday service is always at 10 o'clock. We, in addition to being live here, we live stream on the internet, and that's YouTube, right? Okay. We have a link to the YouTube site on our New Thought Center of Hawaii website. We have free childcare. And we ask that if you do plan to use that, let us know by Friday so we will have a babysitter available. The next 2 Sundays are 828 Kumukeala Ching. He is a kumuhula that's well known around here. He will do the program and the music. Alakeola Living the Journey is the title of his talk. Then Kaimana Light Hawk on 9/4. Island Insights on the Spiritual Path. On 9/11, Dreaming Bear, Baraka Kanan will do the program in music. And is the title Romancing Inspiration? Okay. We have a Monday class, 5 to 6 p.m., Jin An Wang, short forms for long life, Tai Chi and Qigong. And that's a suggested donation of $15. All levels are welcome. And that's here at the center. Last Sunday of the month, which is next week, August the 28th, we will invite any and everyone who has produce on their farm to share, to bring it and put on a community table. Bring a bag for getting what you would like from what others offer, and bring your extra produce to share with others. It will be immediately following our service on the lanai. The first Sunday of the month, we will do pre-service healing meditation with crystal bowls. Is that Aaron's thing? Yes. Okay.
For everybody's meditation thing, if you would like to come. We're doing it earlier. And if anybody wants to play or learn to play, anybody can do it, and I encourage you.
That's September the 4th from 8:30 to 9 in the room immediately behind us. We have a number of service opportunities. On Sunday, we need greeters, people to help set up, clean up, and help with tech, which Kaimana's doing today. Thank you very much, Kaimana. We need a person to maintain our Facebook page, and there is some remuneration involved in that. Workshop facilitators will help with the logistics of a particular event, which includes getting free admission. Planning for our 50th Jubilee. This is our 51st year, but we still haven't celebrated. So we're in the process of organizing an online auction and various other things to support our ongoing activities. To volunteer, speak with the board member. Will the board members please raise your hands? Okay, I see 2. You can also go to our website and the newsletter and click reply, or send a message to spirit@newthoughtcenterofhawaii.com. To be on our mailing list, sign up over here with this guest log, but you can also go online and sign up to receive our newsletter. Now, we conclude our program by singing the song that you see posted around. There are several copies. And most of us know the words. If you don't, by all means, just get yourself positioned so that you can see one of these. Normally we would hold hands, but we're not going to do that. This is the first time we've stood as a circle and stood next to one another instead of sitting in our chairs. So we're starting to relax our protocols to be observant about COVID, and we appreciate everyone being respectful of whoever wants to wear a mask gets to wear a mask, whoever doesn't, doesn't. Thank you so much for your participation today. And join us in our song. Let's make a circle, come in and close it up. So we're not too far from one another.
Does anyone feel qualified to do both the words, the Hawaiian words, and the music? Because you could be near one of the mics.
All right.
Whatever they pick up, they pick up.
Hey,
Hawaii, e kuone ana e. Kukuhome, kuaivine. Orina orina monolanio. E Hawaii, aloha e. E haolina opio o Hawaii e. Ori e. Ori